Welcome to Military Neighbors, a Fleet and Family Support Center program on skills for living. My name is April Holtmeyer, and I'm so glad you've joined us. So today we're talking about the roles and outreach with the School Liaison Officer, and I'm joined by the Subase installation School Liaison Officer Miranda Chapman. So military families face unique challenges with school transitions throughout a service member's career. How do you help support those families?
Well, the role of a school liaison officer is to connect parents and students with information, resources, and the correct people to get their needs met. School liaison officers, which I'll probably call just school liaison, they identify academic barriers, they develop solutions, they educate the community about the needs of military children. We have several different core services that we are required to provide. The first one would be transition support, or PCS, permanent change of station support. Then we also do school-based deployment support, special needs systems navigation, homeschool linkage support, post-secondary support. Then we also do partnerships in education, which is sailors volunteering in the local schools. And lastly, we do school and community in command communication, so making sure that the school, the local commands, and the community all have the same information. So I liaison between those three groups.
All right, so we're going to break down these core competencies. So the first question I have for you after that would be working with relocating families in the local schools. What are some of the obstacles that military families face that you help navigate?
The biggest obstacle, I would say, is identifying what options are available to a family educationally when they're moving into the area. In this part of the country, particularly our local area, most of the local towns run their own school district. Those school districts all have their own rules and policies, different types of course offerings, athletic offerings, artistic-based offerings, and really connecting a family with a school environment that works best for what they're looking for their child. With all the options, whether it's the town that you have to choose based on where you're living, or the magnet school or charter school, the schools of choice options, it can be very overwhelming to a family member that's moving in here, because you have to make a lot of decisions and the information isn't always at your fingertips. So that's the biggest obstacle, is really identifying what's going to be the best education opportunity for your child.
All right, so then what would you say is the overall program goal?
The overall goal of the School Liaison program is to provide parents with the accurate information, resources, and tools to help them and empower them to be the best advocate for their child's education. Because throughout their child's school-age life, they are going to be the one that's the constant, the one that's there, the one that really needs to be advocating in getting their child's needs met.
So who is eligible for these resources and services?
Well, any military family is eligible to get school liaison services. They're all four of the DoD service components, as well as Coast Guard. Locally, I service the Coast Guard family since they're just right across the river, and a lot of them are in the local schools here. And we also work with Guard and Reserve families, regardless of their activation status. In addition to the families, we also help support the schools that educate our military children, so we service them also.
Now, can you tell us more about the school transition services for families moving into the area?
So with families moving into the area, we always like, of course, that they contact us well before they move so we can give them the information that they need. But I provide them with information on what their schooling options are, as I had mentioned before, as well as what programs are being offered in schools, and really a lot of the nuts and bolts of what they need to do to register, what paperwork they need, whether they need physicals, where they need to do it, when they need to do it, and how. That's really the big thing about people moving in, what their choices are and how to get it done.
Now, in what ways do you provide navigation for school-based deployment support?
For the school-based deployment support, the big role of the school liaison officer is to educate the school staff on military lifestyle, the deployment cycle, and how those impact a child within the classroom and provide the educators with some tools, resources, and interventions that can help them work more successfully with that child.
PCS and our permanent change of station and deployments are definitely a challenge. So there must be additional concerns with special needs families. How can you help a family through those additional challenges?
Transitions are smoother in all cases when a family contacts the school liaison well ahead of time. That is even more imperative if you have a special education concern or if you're receiving services. We encourage parents to contact us early so that we can facilitate communication with the school that they're going to. Make sure that we connect them with the appropriate people in the district. That's why they call it special needs systems navigation. We really help them navigate the school district. Every school district handles their special education program slightly differently. They provide different services. Some actually don't provide the services within the district, so they go outside the district. So if they contact us early, we can connect them with the appropriate people, ensure that there's a continuum of services so that they get their needs met without any gaps. Particularly if there's a person that provides it, like if they are needing physical therapy. If they come into the district and they don't have someone on staff that's doing that, it takes time to hire someone in, so then the child isn't getting their services met. And really helping parents understand what the program will look like for their child. Things are done very differently in different parts of the country, and sometimes parents are very nervous about a change if they're going from a self-contained classroom to being integrated into the general ed classroom. So really helping parents with special needs does take that extra special touch, and the earlier we can get to it and make sure those things run smoothly, the better it is for everyone.
Communication between installation, school, and community, how do you help manage all of that?
Well, I am in close contact with command leadership at the Subase. We also work closely with the command leadership at the Coast Guard Academy to make sure that we understand if their service members bring issues to them about education issues or things that are going on in the schools, they bring them to me so I can help try to figure out solutions to those problems. We also have what's called the Military Superintendent's Liaison Committee. We shorten it by MSLC for ease of speak. And that's a group of local area superintendents as well as some other educators and some interested community members and military leadership that gets together generally on a monthly basis throughout the school year to discuss issues of military transition, deployment, how those things are showing themselves in the academic environment, and developing solutions and partnerships to address military students' needs.
Full service.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's many groups. I also am involved with other groups in the community that have intermittent meetings and doing a lot of outreach and communications. I spend a lot of time going out and visiting schools and just trying to touch base and to make sure that even if schools or families don't need me at the moment, I like to be visible to make sure that they know there's someone there when they do need me.
Nice. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Interstate Compact.
This is the city where danger lurks. Today, a new creature walks among us, terrorizing innocent citizens. They prowl the streets alone and in packs, causing mayhem, destruction, and carnage. Warning, until this threat can be contained, we must all be on the lookout for the dreaded digital deadwalkers. They're not looking out for you.
Dude! Engage!
A public service safety message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, who want to keep everyone well connected.
Sorry.
With strong, healthy bones.
Drownings are a leading cause of death for young children. Simple safety steps are the best way to prevent these tragedies. Make sure kids learn how to swim. Always watch them in and around water. Properly fence all pools and stay away from drains. Consider the steps you take, then add a few more. Because you never know which pool safety step will save a life, until it does. Simple steps save lives. To learn some new ones, visit poolsafely.gov.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to Military Neighbors. Today we're talking about the school liaison officer, specifically Miranda Chapman, who's our installation school liaison officer. Okay, Miranda, interstate compact. What are the two most, well, what is it? And then what are the two most important things families should know about it?
The interstate compact is an agreement between states that they say levels the playing field for military families. It has just been signed on in January by the last of all 50 states. So now all 50 states are on board, and DODEA has agreed to abide by that. So the Department of Defense education activities, so overseas schools that the Department of Defense runs. It's a great agreement that addresses inconsistencies when families would move from state to state or even town to town. Some of the inconsistencies included kindergarten or first grade age eligibility, graduation requirements, records transfer, ability to participate in sports or activities, and lots of other things. So it addresses a lot of concerns that military families would have moving from place to place, going from school to school. Two of the most important things to know for a military family is that it exists to help you, that there is a document out there that can help work through the issues that you may have as you're transferring. And two is, if you don't know what it is yet, if you haven't heard of the Interstate Compact for Military Children's Education, learn about it, ask. It's better to find out now what's in there and how it can help you before you need it, and know that it's there if something comes up and you do need it. There are several ways people can, of course, contact me and ask questions about the Interstate Compact, or they can certainly visit the website. The website is MIC3, MIC3.net, and that has all the information on all 50 states that they can access if they have questions and want to learn more.
So we're gonna transition from more public school aspect to homeschool. How do you help with homeschool linkage?
Well, homeschooling, the laws and regulations vary significantly from state to state. So a family that is interested in homeschooling or is currently homeschooling in another state needs to know how things are done in the local area that they're going to. So homeschool families can contact me. I can share what those laws and regulations are, any reporting requirements, what Connecticut here requires homeschooling families to do. I also can help connect them with any local groups or resources that can help them in their homeschooling efforts. There's a lot of great opportunities locally running through, even the public libraries, Mystic Aquarium, and other places that offer great homeschooling programs, and I can help connect them with those.
So going from homeschooling, now we're going to move on to post-secondary education.
Yes.
So in what ways can you help with the preparation for post-secondary considerations?
Yeah, well, post-secondary tends to be one of the lesser used services just due to the triangle of our age group of our children. We have many more young children, and as high schoolers for military connected the numbers get smaller as we get to the tip of that iceberg. For post-secondary, the big things that school liaisons can help with is identifying military-specific scholarships. Sometimes the local schools aren't aware, particularly of command-specific or rate-specific scholarships or other things that might be available, and really letting the military families know those exist. Also, not only getting it out to the families, but getting it out to those guidance counselors that these things are coming up and to share with their military-connected students. We don't work as a guidance counselor for them, but we can certainly help if they're trying to explore colleges and what would be a good fit for them, as well as other career opportunities. Everybody might not want to go to college, but what's available and how to access those services and opportunities for them. And a little bit on guidance on how to use that GI Bill, the post 9/11, and how, because a lot of families now with the ability to transfer it, we can help guide them to who they need to go to get that process completed.
No, we're going to switch gears completely and talk about partnerships in education. How do you help foster that?
The Partnerships in Education program is our volunteers, getting sailors volunteering in our local schools. There are several ways that sailors volunteer. If a school contacts me, they request volunteers for a specific event. So they can contact me, and then I work with the Public Affairs Office to get the information out. Sailors also contact me on an individual basis if they want to be a continuous volunteer. And they let me know what their interests are, what age group they're interested in working with, and I find a school that's looking for a volunteer in that capacity. We've had some, there's this one young lady who loved art, and she really wanted to work in an art room with children, so I connected her with an elementary art teacher, and she went once a week and worked with kids in the art room. There's lots of opportunities. Some commands do partner with schools. Charles Barnum locally has NSSF as a partner with them, so they work together to get the sailors in, to volunteer at that school. And there was another actually, RP2 from Subschool just contacted me recently looking to partner with a school with the folks in her command. So that's a great way to get out and to have that personal relationship between the Navy and the school. And it's a great way for them to give back to the community that's educating our military kids.
Oh. So can you give us some specific examples of resources that you might be able to help provide to families when they're leaving out of the area? When
they're leaving the area, the most important thing that I can give them is the name and contact information for the person for where they're going. That person will know all the up-to-date information about what's going on in the local school districts, what's being offered, what they need to do. And just like here, I would tell them all the school options, they can do all the school options and what's there for them. There's a lot of information to research, and connecting them directly with that person limits the amount of time that a family is going to have to spend researching on the internet, and also decreases the amount of inaccurate information that they're going to get, because unfortunately the internet doesn't necessarily keep up with all the changes, and people can get some really inaccurate information. So that is the most important thing, the name and contact number of that person. On the local side here, one of the things that we like to do, I work with the counselor that works at Fleet and Family by providing transition classes to the parents. So we go over the nuts and bolts of what you need to do, but also we talk about the emotional side and closure and how to have an appropriate goodbye. For a lot of children, particularly the younger children, it might be their first time leaving a peer group, and that can be a difficult experience because when they were younger, the family was their unit and they moved from place to place. Now they have their own peers, their own life outside the family, and helping them appropriately say goodbye. It's a great life lesson to teach them.
Yeah. Does each branch of service have a school liaison officer?
The 4 DoD services have school liaison officers. I do not believe that the Coast Guard has any at this time. There aren't school liaisons at every installation, though. Okay. It will depend on the size of the installation and the mission if one is required. But every person, no matter what branch you're in or what installation you're at, should be able to reach out to the closest school liaison of any branch and get support for them, regardless of where they are.
So I have one last question for you. Mm-hmm. All these great resources, how do we get in touch with a school liaison officer?
To get in touch with the school liaison officers in general, there is a current list that is always populated on the DODEA website, and that's DODEA, DODEA And on that page, it goes by service. It'll say Navy, and it'll click on, and it'll come up with a booklet of all Navy, and then Army, Air Force, and Marines. So they can look on that, particularly if they're not going to an area where there's actually an installation school liaison with them. If they're going to remote locations, it's a good place to find people. As for getting in contact with me personally, it's always better to phone or email, because I do spend a lot of time out in the schools and in the community working with the parents. So my phone number is 860-694-3772. And then my email is miranda.chapman@navy.mil.
Thank you. We are just about out of time. I really appreciate you coming and sharing all of this amazing information with us. So if you would like more information about the School Liaison Officer Program, you can give Fleet and Family Support Center a call at 860-694-3383, and we'll get you connected with our School Liaison Officer, Miranda Chapman. My name is April Holtmeyer. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you again next time.